Let's see, come on. You are live. Perfect. All right. AFO is back, and we're doing the Saints. This is the Gridiron Gang podcast. The
Number one.
first live stream. The first live stream of the Gridiron Gang podcast. Holy crap! This will go down in history. But we got Adam, and we got Jackson, the true Saints fan.
Oh yeah, I got the hat and everything.
True Cajun from Louisiana. That's the man right there. All Louisiana, LSU, Saints, everything.
Born down in the bayou. Hey, let me tell you something right now, but if you go down to Louisiana, you better get that gator because it's real good.
It's all about that crawfish, boys. You gotta get that crawfish. That
crawfish
will kill you, but it's so good. Oh my goodness.
Little helpful tip whenever you're getting crawfish, suck the heads. It has spice.
Oh yeah. You're not eating crawfish right if you don't suck the head, man. That's what she said. But anyways, what a great way to start off the very first Gridiron Gang. Not talking about football at all. Number one. Yep.
Don't forget the jambalaya. Jambalaya, man.
Yes, sir. Yep. Where we going? Saints gear. Drew Brees, yes, sir.
I'm a Jordan. Cameron Jordan.
I'm a Packers fan, by the way.
Yeah, this man Adam's a Packers fan, but hey, I respect the Saints. As a Titans fan, I respect the Saints. I respect them pretty well. So we'll go ahead and start this season predictions for the Saints. Jackson, you have the schedule pulled up?
Yes, I do. All right. So first off, we got the very first game. Everybody knows it because it's probably one of the biggest talked about games. It's going to be Brady versus Breeze, Tampa Bay
season.
Oh boy.
Yep. Starting off good. It's going to be in New Orleans. Anytime that you have two big names like Brady and Gronk come into a new, like on the other side of the division, really. Oh yeah, he's got to switch to the black jersey. No, anytime that you have two big names like Brady and Gronk coming to the team, it's going to be a matter of how do they look. We're going to see a little bit of them in the preseason, so maybe we'll have enough there to kind of guesstimate, I guess. But it's in New Orleans, in the Superdome. I don't see him winning. I don't think Brady can even be on the Patriots coming in with Bill Belichick and winning against the Saints in the Dome. Home advantage.
I agree.
Enough said. Like that culture, that noise. I've been to a couple of games and it gets pretty loud.
That's an understatement.
Right?
Yeah, so I think the crowd's going to be coming into a factor. I think that defense is going to step up and shut down everything the Buccaneers have to offer. The only thing that I see us struggling with is the secondary. Mike Evans is going to go off. Lattimore, last year at the beginning of the season, he looked like a mediocre corner. And then as soon as he had that game against Julio where he shut him down completely, he just took off from there. So it's a matter of if Lattimore can be after season or post or second half Lattimore or first half Lattimore. So that X factor is going to be that secondary and see if they can step up.
The thing is with we talked about the Packers previously, but I think the Saints have a guy who can actually cover Gronk this time. They bring in Malcolm Jenkins, who the Eagles used him as that man up guy against a tight end, and I don't see why he would be any different against Gronk. And that's probably who they're looking for to line up against him. But I do agree. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be following Mike Evans the entire time. The biggest question for me is who's going to cover Chris Godwin. the second cornerback spot still up in the air, whether who it's going to be or stuff like that. But Chris Godwin is the main issue for me. And then it goes back to that Bruce Arians offense. It's the first game of the season. I would expect some sort of miscommunication there. If you look back at Bruce Arians whenever he was in Pittsburgh, the Colts, and in Arizona, there's that first year when he introduces the system, the interceptions go a little bit higher. I get Tom Brady's Tom Brady, but he did show his age a little bit last season. So that miscommunication mostly may be on the receivers and the tight ends in that system. But I think personally, I think New Orleans will come out with that W. It might be a little bit of a shocker, but if you look at Tampa Bay as the 2019 Cleveland Browns of 2020, you see what the Cleveland Browns did against the Titans the first year. I said it in last video. I'll say it again. I think that there will be miscommunications on offense and on defense. And my biggest thing is they have Devin White, they have SMB, they have, Levante David. It's just, I don't think it's enough to stop Drew Brees in that offense. I really don't. With the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, it's going to be hard to cover everybody. Drew Brees can make a scrub into, not all NFL players are scrubs, obviously, because they're NFL players. I mean, they're good, So I almost said a different word, but that's okay. But obviously they're in the NFL. I just think that's what makes the difference is that offense against that defense. With New Orleans' offense against that Tampa Bay defense, it's going to be hard for Tom Brady to keep up. So I agree. I think that New Orleans should take this one in the Brady bout.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of y'all. I think the Saints do pull this out. Like you said, it's in the dome. First week of the season, the spotlight's gonna be on both teams. It's definitely on the Bucks. They had expectations to go through the roof, and I share the same sentiments as Adam. They are the Cleveland Browns of 2020. Book it, guaranteed. That might be a little bit better, but book it. They are the most overhyped team in the league. Um, Brady, he kind of fell off at the end of last year when he does not have a running game and he does not have an O-line to protect him and hold him back there for 20 seconds at a time. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but if he doesn't have an O-line to protect him and he doesn't have a running game to feed off of, he had Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead last year, and they did pretty sufficiently, and he had a great O-line, at least above average O-line at best or at worst. So he had all that going for him, and they still get kicked out of the first round by my Titans. But I just think, Gronk's up in age. He won't be as good as he used to be. Now, Godwin and Evans, obviously, they're going to pop off. One of the two is going to pop off, if not both. And the question is, like Adam was saying, can the Bucks offense keep up with the Saints offense? The Bucks defense is not up to par. Their run defense is with Levante David and Devin White and Vita Vea and that strong and what's the guy's name? He led the NFL in sacks last year. Shaquille Barrett, is that his name?
Man.
Shaquille Barrett. Yeah, it's up to them. Yeah, it's up to them on that run defense. The Saints, they're not a running team, but they do have Alvin Kamara, and I'm pretty sure they still have Latavius Murray, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So I mean, their running game may not go, but hey, Kamara's a step below, Christian McCaffrey in terms of catching out of the backfield. I just think if it's a shootout, I take the Saints every day. That's just my opinion.
About it at this point too. Who's going to be across from Cameron Jordan?
Marcus Davenport.
Davenport?
Oh wait, no, you mean
I meant on the offensive line.
Oh, you meant on the offensive
line.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
You either have left tackle Donovan James, who is mediocre at best, or you have the rookie Tristan Wirfs coming out of Iowa, who, for me, I didn't think he was that great of a prospect. Sure, he was athletic and off the charts off of this athleticism, but Jedrick Wills was by far my favorite left tackle prospect. Andrew Thomas is fantastic himself. He was my number 2 guy. But Tristan Wirfs, in my opinion, I wasn't dealing with the hype at all. And for me, if I'm the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen of the Saints, I'm putting Cameron Jordan on that rookie week 1 because I can see Cameron Jordan bull rushing him. I don't think he'll bull rush him, but I think he'll show him a couple moves. Hey, rookie, welcome
Oh
to the
yeah.
NFL. I'm going to get Tom Brady killed real quick. So it's just, and then on top of that, Michael Thomas is not going to be denied his catches and his yards. He's just not. He's a top 5 wide receiver, top 3 if you really want to narrow it down. It's going to be hard for Brady to interact with that noise. In offensive line, it's super hard for them to travel.
To
It's
communicate.
really hard for them to travel. Nonetheless, they're in the dome, man. You know how loud that place gets? People outside and restaurants outside New Orleans can still hear that dome no matter what. They'll know every time the Saints score. They'll hear it for sure. So I think Buccaneers, I think they take the L here, boys.
Yep.
Buccaneers L.
So we're all in agreement. The Saints are gonna take this.
Saints start off 1-0.
Saints start off 1-0. So we go to week 2. He's already getting the white jersey out. So we have the Las Vegas Raiders at Las Vegas.
In the first game in Las Vegas, and I'm sorry, I'm going to take the lead on this one.
No, you're good.
They lose first game in the stadium. I think they lose. I think the Raiders made some great pieces, added some great pieces in Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, Nelson Aguilar. I think they made some great moves. The addition of Henry Ruggs as well. I just think, I love John Gruden as a coach, probably one of my favorite coaches of all time. But I just think the Saints have too much firepower to deal with them. I just think they do. I think their defense is too good. I just think that I think the Raiders take the L in the first game. I think it's the first game anyway. I don't know the Raiders' schedule, but I think they take the first L in Las Vegas in that beautiful stadium.
Yep. I'm gonna agree with you fully. The Las Vegas Raiders, they're very, very young. John Gruden, he brought in a lot of young talent. You have Darren Waller, what was he, undrafted rookie?
Out of Georgia Tech.
26.
Out of Georgia Tech, my dude.
Yep.
Love me some Darren Waller.
They're just so young. You have second-year running back Josh Jacobs, and he was really good. He was really, really good last year.
He's a bell cow.
Yes, he is. And I think he will have his moments against the Saints. But Derek Carr, he can't do anything against us.
I think he's the X factor going into this is whether Derek Carr can play well. If that offensive line can hold up against Cameron Jordan in that pass rush.
Oh yeah, you have Marcus Davenport coming off the other edge. He was in talks of being another Clowney. They were actually comparing Marcus Davenport to Jadeveon Clowney just because of his potential and athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Sheldon Rankins on the inside. Like, that is a big presence that is really, really good for us. Like, Sheldon Rankins is an X factor onto himself. And then, of course, you have one of the best outside linebackers in Demario Davis. He's old, but the veteran presence.
Hey, if you can play, you can play.
Exactly. If you can play, you can play. Just like the first game, the downside of our team is the secondary. Janoris Jenkins, he's not the answer. PJ Williams isn't the answer. It's going to have to be up to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because we have Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams at the safety positions. Last year, we did have CGJ at slot corner, and that's where I think he's going to stay for at least this year is probably at that slot corner, maybe occasionally going outside if Jenkins isn't playing that well. But it's solely on him. It's going to be him and Lattimore's game to lose, and I see him winning it.
All right, go ahead, Adam.
All right, it's up to you. You haven't given your report yet.
Yeah, he took it.
Wait.
I took the start.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Jackson did for some reason. I don't know, I'm a little lost right here. But let's see. Crap. Who are they playing? I think I just zoned out there for a second. The Raiders. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Woo! First podcast, dadgum. But
Fans already getting nervous.
yeah, no. I was just zoned out. I was just listening and like, yeah, just shaking my head. But no, I mean, I think the Saints win this one. Like you said, the Raiders are young, especially on defense, and they did have they're building a good team. Mike Mayock's building secretly, not really secretly. In my opinion, it's secretly. If you look around the media and stuff, they criticize his draft and not giving him good grades. In my opinion, they're getting some pretty decent talent and they're building a good team, but just not yet. They don't. They don't even know if Derek Carr's the answer right now at QB. And if you put Drew Brees, Derek Carr, if it's a shootout, take Drew Brees every time. But then again, at the same time, if the Saints stop Josh Jacobs, one of the best young running backs in the league, you stop him. You stop the play action game. Uh, you stop Derek Carr because Derek Carr, I don't think he flashed potential back in 2016, same as their backup QB Marcus Mariota did. He hasn't shown anything really since he broke his leg. So I just can't see him keeping up. Maybe Henry Ruggs, if he gets acclimated to the playbook a little bit, he can pop off one against the Saints secondary. I just can't see it happening though. I think the Saints, it starts off pretty shaky. Maybe it might be their first game at the new stadium. If it's first game at the new stadium, it'll pop off, go crazy. Oh my goodness! Saints take it away. Saints take it away at the end. Drew Brees' experience shows, and the Oakland just chokes it away.
It's not Oakland anymore. It's now Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, there you go. I was doing the same stuff with the San Diego last year.
I'm just gonna. Hey, I do the same thing with San Diego. I still call the Chargers San Diego Chargers.
Yep.
And Jackson hears it all the time. But I love the fact whenever everybody's gonna be drunk, everybody's gonna be excited. There's gonna be so many bets on this Las Vegas game. Like, oh, I'm gonna take the Raiders. It's gonna be quiet by the second half because the Saints are gonna be up like 21-0, man. I wouldn't say 21-0, but like 24-7 or so. But it is the first game in that new stadium, that beautiful stadium. It's such a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
But I think Saints take this one, start up to a 2-0 start. But go ahead, Jackson. You take it away this time. You got scheduled this time.
So right now we have 2-0 Saints.
Yep.
Week 3, Green Bay at the Superdome.
Yep.
Like I said in the last game or the last episode for the Packers prediction, I still think the Saints are going to win. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. I think he's going to show out. It is going to be a Rodgers Breeze throwout, but this after the second half, I don't see Green Bay really standing a chance. Kamara is just too good coming out of the backfield, pass or run or pass. You have Jair Alexander on Michael Thomas, and there's a saying, you can't guard Mike, and I don't think Jair is going to guard Mike. So it's definitely going to be a blowout, I think. Not by much. It's going to be about 14 points. I would say 14-point win.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As the Packers fan out of this group, if you look at the tale of the tape, since the Saints have played the Packers, whenever it's been Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, usually who's ever at home is the one who gets the win. And with last time Aaron Rodgers played, I said this last time in the Packers prediction, last time Aaron Rodgers played in the Dome is whenever he had that calf injuries and had that problem. And it was just like that. It started out close, but towards the end of the second half, the Saints started to pull away. And as much as I love my Packers, I don't see it being any different. I wouldn't call it a blowout because a blowout would be considered, 21, 28 points. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 10-point win, 13-point win. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 7-point win. But I do have to agree that the Saints, I just think that, I think that they just have the home atmosphere, and I just think they're ready to win now, unlike the Packers, because I think what will happen is even though the Saints are lacking depth at corner, I just think that Cameron Jordan's going to be lining up on right tackle against new acquisition Rick Wagner, and he may win those battles more than not. And
Yep.
I just think that Drew Brees just has that out for the Packers, and he's ready to win that ring, man. And I'm not going to see, in the Packers prediction, I thought the Saints were going to win, and I'm not going to change it any different just because we're on a different video. So obviously, the Saints win this, go off to 3-0 start. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go the same as I said in the video that we did. Saints gonna win this. I just feel like they have too much firepower for the Packers, and you can't bet against Aaron Rodgers, one of the best QBs of all time. But in this case, he's going up against one of the other best QBs of all time, and Drew Brees. And Drew Brees has more weapons around him. And sadly for Aaron Rodgers, they did not build around him efficiently, in my opinion, this offseason like they should have. So, and Adam knows, but it's just too much firepower going on, and even if you can't contain Michael Thomas, you can only hope to you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him. There you go. But you got Emmanuel Sanders. You still have Jared Cook, right? Jared Cook's still on there.
We also
Yeah.
got Adam Troutman from the draft.
Yes, yeah, from Dayton, right?
Yep.
From Dayton, yeah.
That was one of my higher tight end prospects coming out of this draft. I liked Adam Troutman. They also got Zach Bond from Wisconsin, who is probably going to be switching in and out when Marcus Davenport and Cameron Jordan are tired or something like that. I think it was a great pick in the third round. Man, I was surprised he even fell that far. Should have been a second round or late first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
A great pickup for the Saints, honestly, coming from a Wisconsin fan anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love the pick of Bond. I was really surprised he fell that far. I'm really glad we traded up to get him, because as soon as we saw him still hanging around, it's like, okay, cool.
I mean, how can you not? I mean,
I really like this year's draft. We got a very good addition in Ruiz. He's taking the place of Eric McCoy, but Eric McCoy's taking that guard spot, and I think McCoy's going to excel at that guard spot. He was a great center. He made the Pro Bowl. He was really, really solid, but there was a lot of mistakes that he made. He's just more of a guard. You can be more focused on just blocking the person in front of you instead of, who's gonna come at me, and
you gotta call it out.
Yeah, and I think Ruiz is gonna have a field day with all that. I think he would excel at that more than McCoy would.
And I'll say it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, I was done.
I was just gonna say, I'll say it. I said it last time, and I'll say it again. Ruiz is my guy. I've been following him since high school. I mean, he's a stud, guys. I mean, he really is. Number one center coming out of high school, number one center coming out of college. I mean, the man's a stud. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the Saints center for his career. I mean, he's an intelligent guy. Will be able to pick out pass pro even as a rookie. I just think he's strong. He's a clear-cut offensive line prospect.
Yep.
Came from Michigan, which, at the same time, Michigan puts out some decent prospects. And then at the same time, you can't go wrong with Cesar Ruiz. There's a reason why the Saints picked him, even though they needed a wide receiver. They still thought that Cesar Ruiz was such a great prospect that the fact that they would rather have him than a wide receiver. So to me, I think it was a great pick, in my opinion. I think it was a great pick. A little bit of head scratcher coming at that 20, was it 25?
I think it's 24.
Because they were expecting to get a linebacker.
24, 25 spot. I think it was a great pick. But 3-0 start for the Saints.
Yep. Yeah, I have it here. Saints. Not a blowout win, but a pretty good win right there.
All right. So week 4, it's going to be Detroit Lions at Detroit. So,
okay.
I don't see I don't see us losing this at all. Like I said in the last video, the Lions are they haven't impressed me. Um, they really have not, and I don't see them even having a lucky break and start performing well and still beating the Saints. I think they might put up some points. If they have a lucky break, it's probably going to be like 24-21. If it's going to be a normal game, I see only a touchdown and then the rest field goals. I don't see their offense doing anything against our defense. Stafford's going to be on his butt more than he is standing up. I think Carry On is going to be their X factor in how well they do, and DeAndre Swift, of course. So depending on how they can run against the powerful defensive line of the Saints and the young plus Demario Davis linebacker core, like it, I don't see Swift or Carry On running over them. But yeah, I see Saints going 4-0.
Alrighty.
And I have to agree with you there. I mean, my thing is my key factor for with this game is how are these corners going to be able to favor against this Saints team? Detroit Lions are one of the most deepest teams at cornerback. I mean, they have Desmond Trufant, I believe it's Justin Coleman, and they drafted Jeff Okudah. So those are three guys that are able to start, but at the same time, can they stop the run? You know, they have a weak position at linebacker, with Gerard Davis, who recently got arrested, and they got Jelani Tabai, which I think is a good prospect. I just think he's not developed quite enough to stop Alvin Kamara in that running game. I think that offensive line is too good against this Detroit Lions defensive line to be able to stop that running game. And then Alex Anzalone coming back, man. I mean, I think he plays a key factor in that Saints defense. I mean, an athletic guy who can cover and stop the run. I think he's a main component of why the Saints team will be able to do as well as they do. So I think it's coming from a Packers fan. I think it's Saints going 4-0, beating these Detroit Lions.
Yep, by the behind Goldilocks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy win. You know, you got to feel sorry for Matthew Stafford. He's literally like a lone ranger over there. That's pretty much what he is. He has no help on the O line, at least. He has no help at he finally did get a little bit of help with the DeAndre Swift at running back, but is that going to substantially help him in keeping him safe and protected? No, I don't think so. And he does have Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones, but can they keep up with the Saints offense? If it's a shootout, no, I don't think so. It's pretty simple. They have a young defense. The defense ain't as good for the Lions, at least. I think the Saints can easily overrun them, and Alvin Kamara should have a field day. Just give it to him. Gerard Davis, I wouldn't say he's a bust at first round pick as a first round pick, but he's not lived up to the potential that they thought he was going to be coming out of Florida. So Kamara should have a field day. Drew Brees should be able to stay pretty healthy and upright and be able to get it to Michael Thomas somehow on them slant routes he does a lot. But I don't know how it works. If it works, it works. But Saints should get an easy win here, even if it's at Detroit. So
yeah. So yep, 4-0 start for the Saints, and now we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Superdome.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot actually who they drafted.
Justin Herbert.
They drafted Justin Herbert.
Yep, Herbert.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Justin Herbert. I don't see the Chargers pulling this one out either. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback starting.
Maybe
really great at Oregon. Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe Tyrod Taylor.
They have? Oh, they have Tyrod Taylor.
I think he'll be the starter starting out. I think Tyrod Taylor will probably start at the beginning of the season.
Okay. Well, in that case, depending on who's at quarterback, maybe Justin Herbert has some hidden magic maybe in like week 3, week 4, right before they get to the Saints. But either way, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Herbert, I don't see him pulling it out, especially in the Superdome. I think we actually go I'm almost positive we're going to go undefeated at home just because it's Superdome and we're out for blood. Yeah, I don't see the Chargers doing anything against Thomas and Breeze and Kamara, and then that defense. Once again, Jordan's just going to wreck shop. Whoever's that quarterback's going to have to run for his life because he's going to have two guys in his face at all times.
See, okay, so for me, this is probably going to be one of the tougher matchups in the beginning of the season when it comes to the defense against the offense, since the Chargers still have one of the top defenses in the league. In my opinion, anyway, looking at from a paper standpoint, anyway, I mean, they just have so much depth at cornerback, and then Derwin James, and then obviously you have Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram coming off the edge. But the thing is you have Ryan Ramczyk coming out of Wisconsin, and you obviously have Teron Armstead as well. Being able, will they be able to contain those guys? I mean, I would assume the Chargers have at least 2 sacks that game, at least 2. Roughly, but to me, it's all about the run game. It's all about the run game. Are they going to be able to contain Kamara? Are they going to be able to contain that 1-2 punch with Murray? I don't think so. I mean, it's a primetime game. I mean, and then on top of that, whether Justin Herbert starts or not, it would depend on Tyrod Taylor's injury idea. Because, I mean, by the time, I believe Baker Mayfield started by week 5, I want to say.
Somewhere around there.
I think it was week 3, if I had to put money on it. I think it was week 3. Tyrod Taylor suffered a concussion against the Jets. But Tyrod Taylor actually played against the Saints whenever he was the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and they nearly won it. They nearly beat the Saints in the Superdome with the Cleveland Browns. It was all because of Zane Gonzalez's missed field goal at the end. But for me, you have all those pieces around him. I think this is a toss-up. At the same time, I still think it's in the Superdome. You have that atmosphere. It's Drew Brees ready to come out and win that ring. I think he's trying to prove a message, and I think the Saints start out 5-0, guys. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be hard for a team like the Chargers to come in, especially with that awful offensive line. They traded Russell Okung to the Panthers for Trey Turner, and Trey Turner's a guard, but who's on those outsides? Who's on the outside that's going to be trying to stop Cameron Jordan, Zach Bond? I mean, I know Zach Bond hasn't proven himself yet, but I mean, Zach Bond, Marcus Davenport. I mean, it's going to be hard for those guys to stop that pass rush. Demario Davis coming off the edge as well.
Don't forget Hendrickson.
Exactly. I just think it's going to be hard for them, and especially in that atmosphere. So I'm going to go with the Saints again. Not to mention it's prime time. All eyes are going to be on you, especially if Justin Herbert starts. Man, Justin Herbert has the arm and the intangibles, but the man is basically a bigger Mitchell Trubisky, in my opinion, to start out with. Anyway, he made some error throws. He makes some big time throws, but his decision making is just not the best. And whenever the game is faster against way better opponents, it's going to be hard for him to make that adjustment right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Saints take it here.
Yeah, I'm going to simply say that Saints take it. Like you said, is it going to be Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor starting? Is Austin Eckler, is he an all-down running back? Because Melvin Gordon went off to the Broncos. And, how is Keenan Allen going to adjust to a new starting QB? How's Hunter Henry going to be doing? Is he going to stay healthy? And then on the defensive side, they've honestly got a good defense. The Chargers do. So the key thing for me is, they got Casey Hayward. They've got Derwin James. They got Chris Harris Jr. from the Broncos. Back there in the state in the on the defense, and then Melvin Ingram, and Joey Bosa back there on defense. So the key is for me, Drew Brees. He'll get his dink and dunks to Michael Thomas and stuff. But how well can Latavius Murray run the ball? I think he'd be a key running up the middle of that defense. Coming off the outside, Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, they can run upfield and do all that stuff. How's Latavius Murray going to do? How's Alvin Kamara going to do off the dump-off screens or even just little halfback draws or any of that stuff like that? That's the key right there, in my opinion. And can the Chargers keep up with the Saints if the Saints are scoring just at will, just like that? And in my opinion, I don't think it'll happen. I think the Saints can easily run away with it, and Saints start off 5-0. Yeah.
I think the key matchup here with that Saints offense against the Chargers defense is I think Sean Payton will find a way to get Alvin Kamara the ball, force those linebackers to have to cover him. Because, I mean, if you look at, besides Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, the Saints have Traquan Smith, and, that's about it. And if you look at it from a standpoint, the Chargers have the upper hand with the receivers against the corners. So as an offensive coach that Sean Payton is, you got to find mismatches somewhere. And to me, it's, they may have Derwin James try to follow Kamara, but at the same time, you got those tight ends as well. You got to force to stretch out that field. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints like to go in 5 wide, leave Drew Brees in that empty set to pick apart that defense, man. Because, I mean, how could you not? You have such a great defense, and they can't cover the whole field. Nobody's able to cover the whole field. So, to me, I think that's the matchup is offensive, Sean Payton's offensive play calling against Anthony Johnson's defensive play calling. I think that's the main part here. So, Saints win 5-0. That's my opinion.
Yeah, going off of what I said, I need to stop being a little bit of bias because that answer was a little bit of bias. I had no idea about the Chargers corners. Yeah, I was talking like Michael Thomas is about to just catch on everybody. No, judging by what y'all said, it has influenced what I said. But yeah, I do think the running game is going to have to be a factor. But yeah, 5-0. So now we have a bye week after that. So coming off the bye week, we'll be going to staying at home and playing the Panthers.
All right.
Against this
the
Matt
jerseys
Rule,
quit.
Yeah, against this Matt Rule, Joe Brady offense. I think they'll have a little insight in what the offensive mindset is because of Joe Brady and because of Teddy Bridgewater. But I still don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Panthers are going to put up a fight this time, but losing Kuechly, your real biggest threat on offense is, I mean, now they have Robbie Anderson, but I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to cover him pretty good. So it's going to be a matter of if C-Mac can pop off, and he's going to pop off, but it's not going to be enough. I think he's going to outshine just about everybody on the Saints offense. I mean, he did last time we played him, but we still won. So yeah, it's going to be a matter of who can pop off more. The Carolina offense led by Bridgewater or the Saints off led Breeze, and it's going to be Breeze.
And I mean, I can agree with you there with the Panthers, but the thing is talking about Joe Brady's offense with LSU and stuff like that, who taught him that? Sean Payton did.
Exactly.
And if you look at it this way, you could look at it at a different standpoint. Matt LaFleur was hired from Sean McVay, but he also had that Kyle Shanahan influence. And you saw how that worked out for my Packers. Not very well. So I think what will happen is Sean Payton will tell Dennis Allen about what Joe Brady's tendencies are. And I would assume Dennis Allen probably watched some LSU film. And, we're in the fourth, fifth, sixth game of the season. So he's going to have some game film as well to be able to revolve around that defense to help stop that offense. And Teddy Bridgewater has some experience with the Saints, obviously being with them last year. But I don't think just with that little knowledge, I don't think it'll be able to stop them. C-Mac will have yards. It's kind of hard for him not to have yards since he's such a dual threat running back, man. I mean, to be able to have a wide receiver and a running back at running back, it's really hard to stop. But for me, I don't know if that Panthers defense is going to be able to stop him. I really don't. If you look at, the experience at corner is kind of iffy whenever it comes to Michael Thomas against the Panthers. It's I don't think that the Panthers are going to be able to stop Drew Brees in this offense since Drew Brees has been playing against the Panthers twice a season since 2006. I mean, nothing has really changed with the Panthers, in my opinion. I don't. I just think if you go into that dome, you're going to have a really hard time to beat the Saints. So I think the Saints start 6-0 here.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think the Saints start 6-0, and they're the talk of the league. I mean, Michael Thomas is going to have to be guarded by somebody. Somebody's going to have to guard Michael Thomas. And looking at the Panthers depth chart, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Saints start off 6-0. The big key is the Saints defense. Honestly, I feel like if they can stop Teddy Bridgewater and if they can stop Christian McCaffrey, no, well you can't really stop Christian McCaffrey. You can just only hope to contain him, as the saying goes. Um, if they contain McCaffrey and they try to force Robbie Anderson or Curtis Samuel to beat them and just make Teddy Bridgewater beat them. They know have a little bit of insight, obviously, as Teddy Bridgewater was the backup QB to Drew Brees last year, so they can understand his tendencies a little bit. I mean, but like you were saying, can the Panthers defense efficiently and effectively stop the Saints offense? In my opinion, middle of the season right now, injuries could happen. Obviously, I think the Saints have a little bit too much firepower on offense. Emmanuel Sanders might go off in this game as a deep threat. Alvin Kamara could possibly go off. Going around the outsides with they have Derek Brown up the middle now, the first round pick for the Panthers, and he's gonna be a beast in due time. But is he going to be a one-man wrecking crew like an Aaron Donald? No, I don't see it. So like Saints, 6-0 coming off the bye week, they're going to get a W here at home.
I mean, my thing is as well as Matt Rule is a rookie coach, so how is his offensive scheme going to translate to the NFL? And I mean, on top of that, Phil Snow, their defensive coordinator, has been with Matt Rule since his days at Temple. So it's also the transition of his defense. How is he going to be able to translate with the NFL and having a tougher competition, especially against one of the most, if not the most, consistent quarterbacks in NFL history? I just think Drew Brees is going to be able to pick apart this defense to start off with.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So we have a 6-0 Saints start. The next game is at Chicago against the Bears. This one, I I really don't see anything else. Like we said in the Green Bay Packer video, the Bears they're struggling at quarterback. They're not looking like a good team. They're very inconsistent. Trubisky can be great one moment and then absolute crap the next moment. You bring in somebody like Foles, you have that factor of, okay, if Trubisky doesn't do good, then we can put Foles in there. But that's exactly what Jacksonville had whenever they got Foles, and look what they did. They still kept with Gardner Minshew. I think the way the Bears are going to beat us is if David Montgomery's going to pop off and get some rushing yards. I don't see behind the arm of either Foles or Trubisky. I don't see him doing it. We're going to dare him to throw on us, but it's a matter of if David Montgomery can get past our scheme against them. And with Zach Bond, Demario Davis, and Alex Anzalone, it's going to be really, really difficult. Their wide receivers, I do like their wide receiving core, but Allen Robertson is really old, and he's going to be blanketed by Marshawn Lattimore. And I think the only position that's actually going to pop off and get yardage is their slot, whoever they have there, whether it be Riley Ridley or whoever. And then Chicago's defense, it's against Kamara and Breeze.
Well, I mean, if you look at it this way, Chicago played the Saints in Chicago last year, without Breeze, and the Saints still won.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. But on top of that, the addition to Nick Foles is like you're paying this man $20 million to basically be a backup. Would I rather have Nick Foles over Trubisky? No, I don't think I would, because at least Mitchell Trubisky has a running aspect to him. But my thing is the Chicago defense is a great defense. You can't deny that. They're at least a top 6 defense. I mean, that's my thing as a Packers fan. I know that. I think that the Saints have the tackles to come back Khalil Mack. I think either if he lines up on the left side or the right side, he's going to have a great opponent against him. I think it depends on that Bears secondary. You got a nutter butter over there?
Yeah, I did. I have to go to the bathroom.
Sorry to take away from this Bears talk, but I love nutter butter. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, that stuff's good, dude.
Butter. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, I just think that, the Bears have a great defense. They do. But can that offense beat the Saints defense? I don't think they can. David Montgomery, you could talk about him being popping off and stuff like that. He didn't really do a whole lot last year. He didn't really. Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery didn't do a whole lot. And it's ultimately up to Matt Nagy as being that offensive play caller, whether or not Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles is going to succeed. I just think they'll have a hard time whether or not they're in Chicago or not. Because, I mean, in my opinion, the Bears fans are going to turn on them if they win or lose. Because it's like, well, I mean, if they win, they won't turn on them. But if they lose, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints, are beating them pretty badly, and the Bears will start cheering for the Saints. The Bears are cheering for the Saints because it's like,
True.
Chicago fans are ruthless, man. So in my opinion, I wouldn't be shocked if the Saints go into Chicago and win again, man. I really don't. I would love to see that fullback dive option play that they did with Taysom Hill before. I would love to see that again. That's probably one of the most beautiful play calls I've ever seen. I love that play. But that's another thing to talk about. How is Sean Payton going to be putting Taysom Hill into these gadget plays now that he's gotten a little bit more exposure in these gadget plays? I would love to see him line up at quarterback and run quarterback power until, the light at the tunnel is reached. Because, I love the fact that he's able to adapt these plays and put these plays around Taysom Hill. And I think the Bears are probably going to be the team that they do it against the most to kind of confuse that defense. I mean, I think the Saints start, I mean, hell, we're at, 7-0 here, boys. I think they can 7-0.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are, they went to the playoffs a couple of years back. Mitch Trubisky showed a little bit of something, and something happened to him last year where he just fell off. And they had essentially the same team pretty much. You had David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen and Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller and Trey Burton, I'm pretty sure too. But it's like they couldn't form anything, and they do have a borderline. They're not elite defense, but they're a very good defense, and they have one of the best players in the league on defense in Khalil Mack. They have him and Roquan Smith, and I believe they still have Kyle Fuller and Eddie Jackson at safety.
Yep.
And so that defense they can slow down the Saints offense, but will they be able to keep up on their own offense? I think not. I think the Saints defense can shut them down pretty well. Mitch Trubisky can run around all he wants, but will he complete the pass? He's not Mahomes. He can't throw off his back foot or anything like that. I'm not going to expect him to make a big play unless he runs the ball pretty well. So I can see the Saints maybe it's a trap game since it's at Chicago and they're starting off 6-0 and they're on a roll. Possibly could be a trap game, and if it is, I still feel like they'll pull it out. The Bears just aren't that good. If you score one or two times on the Bears on that defense of theirs, you should be able to win pretty simply put. So got the Saints starting 7-0 right now. I think it's 7-0, right?
Yeah. 7-0.
Yep, 7-0. Yeah. Got the Bears starting 7-0 right now.
All right. Yeah, I know Kyle Fuller is going to be on Michael Thomas, so it's going to be a matter of if Fuller could stop Thomas. But I know they got Buster. Yeah, he can. I know they're going to have Buster Scrine on Sanders, and
he can't.
Yeah.
My thing is, defensive cornerbacks, you could have a lockdown corner, but at the same time, they still give up big plays no matter if they're locked down or not. It just depends. Kyle Fuller's not a lockdown corner. He really isn't. And he's not going to be able to stop Michael Thomas. He's really not.
No, he's gonna have to ask for a lot of help from Eddie Jackson over the top.
And then Drew Brees will just throw to Emmanuel Sanders instead.
Exactly. Just put a little slant route, split safeties. So this next one, it's going to be at Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. I think this game is going to be the trap game. If we start off 7-0, we're going to have our heads high. We're going to go into Tampa Bay. It's home field advantage, no matter if Brady's been there for less than a year or not. I think if the Buccaneers start to show at least a little bit of what they're projected, I think Buccaneers win. But if they are not showing up to expectations to where it's even like a tiny bit below expectations, or like maybe the running game's looking good but the passing game's not, if they have a problem, they're going to lose. But if they start coming together, Gronk's showing progression, Brady's showing, hey, I'm behind Bruce Arians, so I'm actually doing better than Belichick. But unless that happens, it's going to be another Saints win.
I think the Saints dropped this one. I think it's their first loss of the season. They're at Tampa Bay. It is prime time. The only way I could really see the Saints, I just think it has to end up in Brady's hands, whether or not the Saints can force turnovers. I think Brady gets into a rhythm. But at the same time, it's a toss-up, especially with this team, with the Saints. I think they potentially could beat anybody. But for prediction's sake, I'd say the Saints probably lose this one. Give or take. They had, the Buccaneers played the Saints week 1. They know why they lost. If they're an NFL team, they'll figure out why they lost and they'll try to exploit why they should win. So, for prediction's sake, I think the Saints drop this one.
Okay. Yeah, this one's a toss-up. It's a toss-up, and, as much as we say that Bucks are going to be overhyped, which I certainly believe they are, the first game of the season, they're only going to have possibly 4 preseason games together. You can't really get a gauge on how much cohesion and consistency and how you can execute as a team early on in the season through 4 preseason games. It's not going to judge it. So what are we, 7, 8 games in, or almost 8 games in here? The Buccaneers are getting they're getting more cohesion, more cohesive together. They're learning each other's tendencies and all that, like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and OJ Howard, and obviously Brady's got the connection with Gronk already. Even that running game might be getting a little bit better. So it's a toss-up for me right now. And like you said, the first game of the year, they'll figure out what they're doing, and Brady can make changes from there. And, it's at Tampa Bay, Sunday Night Football. When does Tampa Bay ever get Sunday Night Football games? They will be rowdy for this one. Because, I think they've got like 5 primetime games this year, so this may not be their first one. Oh, shoot, my battery's low. But, yeah, whoops. Yeah, I don't want the stream dying. But, yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I just feel like the Buccaneers they'll take this one, in my opinion. They'll take it. They've definitely got they'll find a way somehow at the end. It's going to be close, and Brady will pull off his little BS towards the end of the game where he just goes straight down the field, and their kicker's going to kick like a 50-yarder or something like that. I can just see it happening right now. Brady will lead them down with his little dink and dunk stuff, and Saints get their first loss of the season, but they're still one of the best teams in the league, obviously.
Now, the biggest question for me is still is that offensive line. I mean, the questions are still around that offensive line and that defense. If they're going to be able to get pressure to Breeze and to see if they can win it, I can easily see the Panthers, the Saints actually winning this one because I mean they've won in Tampa Bay before. It's been close, but they've won in Tampa Bay before. I just think since it's been close before with Winston, I think that Brady and Gronk will elevate it to where it'll give them the W this time.
Yep. So we have the Saints losing their first game, so it's an 8-1 or no 7-1. So, this next one, revenge game. It's gonna be in New Orleans against the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
This one I see the Saints winning because, like I said, it's a revenge game. They put us out of the playoffs. We're gonna want to beat the living crap out of them, especially at home. I believe the playoff game was in San Fran, or was it in New Orleans?
Neither.
Y'all,
They didn't play.
y'all didn't play in the playoffs. Y'all lost at
Oh.
home to them, though.
Was it regular season then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I can see the 49ers coming back and possibly winning this game, but I think just because of that revenge, like, oh, so they were the reason why we weren't the first seed. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna want revenge on them for making us lose the first seed. I guess it's not as much of a revenge as getting put out of the playoffs, but still, I say we're gonna win this one. Not easily at all. I think it's going to be a very close game just because of how that game went last year and how Kittle went off. But we have a lot better talent at linebacker. I believe Anzalone was hurt during that game. And plus, like Adam said, we have Malcolm Jenkins, so he can be on that Kittle or on Kittle. So it's going to be a matter of if the vet can cover Kittle. So yeah, I say Saints win.
I'd have to disagree with you this time. I think the biggest question with these 49ers offense is that linebacker group going to be enough to be able to stop this run game and that play action off of it. I think Kyle Shanahan, like I said before in the Packers prediction, Kyle Shanahan is one of the best play callers in the league with Sean Payton. It will be close. I think it will be. I just think this San Fran team is good. But saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints win this one either. Because, I mean, like I said before, the San Francisco 49ers had the number one defense last year, and it's very hard to repeat that again as the number one defense. I don't think they do. They were extremely healthy last year, had very limited injuries when it came to defense and offense for that matter. But I think the Saints actually dropped this one at home against the 49ers.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. Last year was one of the best games of the year.
Absolutely.
The Saints had the game won. I know it's bringing back some bad memories, Jack, but
That's all good.
George Kittle's just a man amongst boys out there. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, tight end in the league. He's personally my best tight end in the league. Just dragged 4 guys across on that 4th down conversion, and man, I could see that happening again, another shootout, and it just depends. Can the Saints stop that run offense, and who's going to outsmart one another? Is it going to be Kyle Shanahan, or is it going to be Sean Payton? And I could see it being going like either way, 50-50 again, and I don't know. If it's on the road, I'm going to have to go with the 49ers on this one. And, it's because it's so early on in predicting. Obviously, in the middle of the season, we're going to have a better feel in terms of like if injuries happen or anything like that. But the 49ers are loaded. They are stacked. Put them up against they're one of the better teams in the league when it comes to like the depth wise. You put it up with the Ravens. I was going to say the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are pretty well stacked too. Chiefs, the Ravens, 49ers, that's probably my top 3 teams right there. I can't, unless something happens and the 49ers just play like crap or Garoppolo gets hurt again, like 2 years ago, then I just got to pick the 49ers in this one. But I can see the Saints getting that revenge. You're saying, hey, y'all beat us at the Dome last year. We're going to beat y'all in not Candlestick anymore, but, their new stadium now. But
It's at the Dome again.
Yeah.
It is at the Dome? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's at the Dome.
Okay, well, I could see the Saints getting the dub here, though. Coming off a loss in my prediction. But if they're coming off a loss, come in with more firepower. We'll see what happens. But I think 49ers is probably going to pull this one out.
I think the X factor with this game is how well that defense is playing 9 games into the season. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a top 5 defense, but at the same time, regarding injuries, you can never know. At the same time, Jimmy Garoppolo could tear his ACL again, or maybe Nick Bosa is hurt, or
Sherman.
What is his name? Fred Warner. I don't think Richard Sherman's all that great, in my opinion. I don't think that they're a cover 3 heavy scheme, and Richard Sherman's running bail coverage most of the time anyway. But I think it's the fact of if the Saints start out hot and they get off to a 14-0 start, it's going to be tough for the 49ers to come back because they're a run-first offense.
Yep.
They're an offense that controls the clock, keeps running the football, and they're more favored to win if they're ahead. If Drew Brees can get off to a hot start and that defense can get a pick and are able to turn that into points, I think the Saints could win this. And that's how even it could be, how either way it could go. But, I just think with Kyle Shanahan's play calling and, try to limit those turnovers as much as possible, I just have to go with the 49ers as a preseason prediction.
All right. So, Aaron, what did you say? The 49ers win or Saints win?
7-2 record so far.
7-2.
Yeah, I said 49ers.
All right, cool. So 7-2, going into what would this be? Week 10, actually. So yeah, against.
It would be week 11.
Week 11.
Yeah, week 11. 10th game.
Okay. So yeah, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons in the Superdome once again. Oh, actually, no. It's the first time we're going to meet. So, yeah, the first time that we meet the Falcons, and it's going to be in the Superdome.
Interesting.
We always beat Falcons. I think that it's one of our biggest rivals, but it's one of the easiest teams we play against. The rivalry goes back to, I don't know how long, since I think the very first time the Saints stepped onto the field, we were in the same division. But I just don't see with their new additions. I don't see Matt Ryan leading the team. I just don't see him doing it. Maybe in that second game at Atlanta, maybe they get some new stadium juju.
They won at the new stadium last year.
They did win at the new stadium last year.
Pretty handedly too.
Yeah, they did. But I think wasn't that at like the very end of the season? I forgot.
It was like week 14 or so. Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, I think that was. I forgot what we did that made us just crap the bed whenever we played against them. But
I remember that.
I don't see us doing that at home. Like I said before, we're going undefeated at home. I don't see us losing at home. So yeah, I say Saints win by pretty big margin against the Falcons.
I have to agree. I think the Saints are pissed after dropping their previous 2. I think they're ready to blow the brakes off the Atlanta Falcons. The incoming rival coming to home. I think that the Falcons couldn't do anything against the Saints. I think the Saints blow their brakes off. I think this is where they prove, hey, just because we're 7-2 doesn't mean we're some pushover and we're just like, okay, we're 7-2, we're all right. I think we're ready to pound the rock. I think we're ready to blow open this Falcons defense. And I think Breeze goes off, man. I think he goes 27 for 28 like he did that last time against whatever team he did it against. I don't remember. I think it was the Giants or so, but I think they blow the brakes off the Falcons, and I think they take this one pretty easily. Don't quote me on the 27 for 28, though.
But I gotta agree. The Falcons, they're Matt Ryan's getting older. He played a pretty decent season last year, but how much he loses his starting tight end in Austin Hooper due to a trade. He's on the Browns now. He does get Hayden Hurst, but can Hayden Hurst produce the same level? He's a good check down threat. Austin Hooper was a great check down threat. If you look at Matt Ryan's stats against the Titans last year, the scoreboard don't show it because we basically blew him out pretty much in NFL terms. But Matt Ryan went off. He checked it down to Austin Hooper for garbage time plays. So I mean, he's got Julio obviously, and he's got Calvin Ridley. But I just don't see they can't keep up with. And Todd Gurley, he might have arthritis in the middle of the season. And him and Ito Smith, is Ito Smith gonna be able to take the load off of him as easily or as much as he can? I don't think so, and I think the Saints can just blow the doors off of them. It won't be close, and like you said, in our predictions, they lost to the Bucks and the 49ers back to back, and they're going to be pissed coming back home. And wait, it's at home, right?
It's at home.
Okay, so yeah, they're going to be pretty mad. They're going to be pretty pissed off, and they're going to be like, "Hey, that's our rivals right there. Let's go beat the brakes off of them." And I think that's what they'll do.
I think so. I mean, my thing is that defense, the Falcons' defense is the biggest question here. They drafted Jeff Gladney out of TCU, but who's going to cover Mike Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders? I really don't know. I mean, you get Keanu Neal back, but I mean he's one safety, and one thing about NFL safeties, they're fast, but they're not super fast. It's just they're play safety for a reason. I just think Sean Payton's going to be able to pick this defensive. Him and Drew Brees are going to be able to pick this defense apart. I don't think the pass rush is as good as it was last year, and it wasn't even that good to begin with. I just think the Saints take it here in the dome, in the atmosphere. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. So, start. Or 8-2 record for the Saints right now. 2 Mile High, we have the Broncos.
Oof,
So
it's going to be tough.
this one, yeah, I can see this being another trap game to where we come off a huge victory against the Falcons. We're back on our high horse. Yeah, we have 2 losses, but those 2 losses, we know exactly what we did. We one of them against a very great 49ers team. But it's going to be a matter of how Jerry Jeudy fits into that scheme. It's because him alone can be an X factor, but it's a matter of if he can step onto the field and actually produce that, or if it's going to take a little bit of time. They do have 2 really good tight ends in Jake Butt and Noah Fant. Noah Fant alone is a really, really great tight end coming off alongside of T.J. Hawkinson. Just having those 2 tight ends producing that much goes to show that they're really 2 great tight ends, period. So, yeah, Noah Fant's definitely going to have to be that. He's going to have to catch those important passes that come to him. Jerry Jeudy's going to have to show that he can be that number 1 wide receiver because he's going to have to be. Because I think their number 1 wide receiver right now is Courtland Sutton.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see Sutton as a number 1. Like, yeah, he has his games, but he's another inconsistent player. As far as their defense, I think they run a 3-4.
Oh, they are underrated.
Yeah, they really upgraded. They got Jarrell Casey from the Titans.
Oh.
Forgot who else they got. But I mean, even with Jarrell Casey at tackle, I don't see him doing anything. It's going to be Casey versus McCoy or Andreas Pete, but I don't see it being enough. We're going to have to pass a lot more with Casey being in the center. Or at least run to the outside. But
Hey, don't forget Bradley Chubb and Von Miller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You do have Armstead and Ramczyk on those tackle spots. So.
I think Von Miller's going to show out. I think he's definitely going to be a factor. Chubb, I think, is going to have his moments, but for the most part, he's going to get locked down.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to be Von Miller if anything, and even with him being a fact that him being the monster that he is, I don't think it's going to be enough. Drew Brees is going to pass all over him, and it's going to be a pass heavy game.
They don't have
I think
Chris
it's
Harris
plenty.
anymore. Oh, my bad.
They don't. No, you're good. Yeah, you're right. Chris Harris, is no longer a Denver Bronco anymore. To me personally, I think this game resides on the shoulders of Drew Lock. I think that he has to make plays against this defense. He's a notorious gunslinger, and either that'll pay off for him, or this could be a 3-4 interception game for him. It just depends. I think if the Saints go man coverage, I think Malcolm Jenkins is going to be on Noah Fant, most of the time. I think the Saints will bring some sort of exotic blitzes. I think they'll bring some stunts, and they'll make that rookie have to. Well, he's not a rookie anymore, but he might as well be a rookie because he's only played 5 games in his NFL career.
Yeah.
He'll bring. I think Dennis Allen will bring stuff that Drew Lock has never seen before, and it'll have to be. I think it'll have to rest on Drew Lock's shoulders in order to have to play well against the Saints defense. At this point in Drew Brees' career, he's seen everything under the sun. But at the same time, Drew Brees does have his moments where he doesn't play necessarily a great game, but he's still notorious for being the most consistent quarterback in NFL history. I think the Broncos will bring a nice defensive approach. Since Vic Fangio, a former Chicago Bear, the former defensive coordinator for that number 1 Bears defense back in 2018, whenever the double doink happened, that was Vic Fangio's defense. Yeah, but that was his defense, and I think with Sean Payton's play calling, I think it'll have to rest on Drew Lock's shoulders whether or not he's going to be able to make those throws or not. And I think since it's later on in the season, since we're at the 10th game, the 11th game of the season, maybe that'll help him, or maybe it won't. But I think the Saints take it here, even though we're at Mile High. Drew Brees is going to be able to throw it a little bit farther than he's used to due to that altitude, and maybe Sean Payton wants to spread it out and let Drew Brees just do his thing. Maybe maybe Sean Payton wants Drew Brees to throw it 40, 42 times a game in this game. So I just think with Drew Brees' ability to make the right decision, to be able to look at those blitzes and understand who's going, who's not, I think it'll be able to pull out the win here.
Yep. So we have what is it, 10-2? No.
Yeah, I still got to do mine though.
All right. So
Aaron has to do his prediction. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. Yeah, my Titans play the Broncos first game of the year, and if you ask any Titans fan, they are going to be a little bit scared because it's that Monday night, and that first week of Monday Night Football, they have the first game and the second game. We're the second game, so it'll be late, and it'll be in Mile High. The stadium's probably going to be packed because Denver fans they're going to be excited, and rightfully so, because they do have a scary looking team. Now, I remember watching the highlights of the Broncos and Texans game from last year. The Broncos came out of nowhere, won at the Texans' place, beat the crap out of them. Drew Lock went off and was just gunslinging it everywhere. And honestly, I hope it's not a sign of things come from my Titans. But this late in the season, if Drew Lock, we'll see if he's for real or if he's fake or if he's just inconsistent. But they got him and Noah Fant and Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. They got Melvin Gordon too. We can't forget about that. And if Melvin Gordon's healthy, then they're going to have an offense that's firing all out. It just depends on that O line, though, obviously. And that defense, they got a great front seven. Bradley Chubb and Jarrell Casey from my Titans, sadly. Von Miller, obviously. How can we forget him? A.J. Johnson's a pretty serviceable middle linebacker. So it'll all come down to can the Saints, in my opinion, can the Saints O-line hold up against Chubb and Jarrell Casey and Von Miller? Can they hold up against him and beat that secondary? Because that secondary might be a little bit of a weak point for them. And if Drew Brees has time in the pocket, or if he can dump it off to Kamara, we'll see what happens from there. And can that Saints defense stop Drew Lock? And like Adam was saying, I do agree. It comes down on Drew Lock. Is he going to show his inconsistency, or is he going to be able to pop off and prove he's one of the better young QBs in the league and match up well with Drew Brees? Like, hey, I'm the next big one. I'm the next big guy. I can knock off the top QBs in the league. And can he do that? We don't know, but in my opinion, I feel like the Saints will pull this off. As of now, I'm going to pick the Saints to win this one just because it's preseason. We don't know how Drew Lock's going to be. The Broncos' future does look promising right now, or at least not future, but this season looks promising right now. But I'll have to go with the Saints due to the edge. Will Lutz might have to kick a field goal. He's got a powerful leg. If it comes down
He
to it,
could be in there close to close.
he'll,
Just
yeah,
out
if he
there.
needs to, he'll hit a 60, 55, 60-yarder. Saints got this, though. I think the Saints win.
Hey, there's a nickname for Lutz. Big Nuts Lutz.
Hey, that's how it is,
Straight
man.
for them 60-yarders.
Remember that Houston game?
Mm-hmm. I
Houston
remember.
game, yeah. Thank goodness y'all beat him. I was about to be pissed.
All right, so are we done now?
Yeah. We're
Turn
good.
everybody off again?
It's usually you, Adam, and then me.
Yeah,
That's how it goes.
I was looking ahead 2 games.
Oh yeah. I see you.
Uh,
Ooh.
so now we got the Falcons at Atlanta. Like I said before, this can be one that we lose just because we did lose to them last year. I mean, they pretty much ran the show on us, but I don't see them doing it 2 years in a row. Well, I take that back. I see Julio having his game this game. Him and Lattimore have a really big rivalry. One game, Lattimore will shut him down. Next game, Julio will go off. It's 2 back and forth. I think Lattimore will have his game against the Falcons at home, but Julio's going to have this one since the Falcons are at home. So, I'd say it's going to be close. It's going to come down to a last-second field goal. But I'm actually going to say that they don't have enough, and Lutz is going to get a last-second field goal instead of the Falcons getting it. So, yeah, I'm going to say Saints beat Falcons twice this year.
All right.
I mean, I'd have to agree, honestly, because I just think, I think Julio has his day. He often does well at home more than at away. At the same time, it really matters on Matt Ryan against the Saints defense. And honestly, I think it helps whenever you have that game plan against him like last year. You have the game like he played last year. Okay, we don't want to play like this time. So what do we have to do to make this game different? I think they did a great job with Taysom Hill that game last year. I mean, talk about that QB power that he took 40 yards for a touchdown. I think that's the key matchup is how is Matt Ryan going to do well and that home atmosphere against that Saints defense. And then on top of that, Drew Brees didn't play that great against that Saints defense. I mean, the Saints defense, the Falcons defense that game in Atlanta. But I think he takes that mentally as Drew Brees does, and I think he takes advantage of it. And I think they do win again against the Falcons, and they sweep the Atlanta Falcons for this year. Because in all honesty, I think the Falcons lost more than they gained. Todd Gurley at this point, what are we, 13 games into we're 12 games into the season. We don't know if that knee is going to be affecting him or not. And that could severely hinder that run game. And if Matt Ryan's having to pass it, more than he's used to, that might interfere, quite severely. And then if you look at it at the same time, the Saints added some great pieces. Emmanuel Sanders probably the top one, to where now the Falcons defense now has to shift their point from just Michael Thomas to now they have to cover Emmanuel Sanders as well. And then on top of that, do the Saints still have Jared Cook?
Yeah,
Okay. They have Jared Cook, and then they have Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, and then you got to cover Taysom Hill too. I just think it might still be a little too much for the Falcons to face. They've only had a week in between both games to prepare, and still have to prepare for another team as well. I just think that even though they're at home, I don't think it's going to be enough for the Falcons to beat them. So I think that the Saints do win, and they go to a 10-2 start. 10-2, yeah, 10-2 start.
No, right?
Yeah,
So,
I just think the Falcons. They're not. I just don't think the Falcons are that good. If we're being honest here, they're just not that good. Outside of Julio and Matt Ryan, they're gonna eventually have to find Matt Ryan's replacement. Todd Gurley's, he's got arthritis in his knee. Is he gonna be able to actually carry the load if he needs to? I don't think he is. And Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, you got them and Matt Ryan, but can Matt Ryan keep up with Drew Brees again? I doubt it. And also at this time, I do believe they will be fighting with the 49ers, the Saints will, for the 1 or 2 seed. And so the Saints are going to be firing off and trying to fight. And by this time, maybe the Falcons, they're finally figuring out, like, hey, Matt Ryan's not our guy anymore. They could be. Who knows? But this game will be closer. It's at the Falcons. I do feel like the Saints will take this one, though. I just don't see the Falcons being that good this year. So, especially when it's 2 out of 3 weeks, they got to play the same team. Is that enough time to really understand where one team's going to go? I don't think so. So I think the Saints going to get this one in a close one.
And I mean, on top of that, I think it's easier from an offensive standpoint to adjust than a defensive standpoint. So I think it'll be easier for Sean Payton to nitpick a defense than it would for Dan Quinn to try to stop Sean Payton's offense. So I think that'll play a big factor in it.
Very true.
Yeah, and with that addition of Malcolm Jenkins to that safety, it allows a lot more leeway for Chancey Gardner Johnson. Because with Von Bell last year, yes, he was a solid safety, but he wasn't on the equivalent to Malcolm Jenkins. Even though Jenkins is older than Bell, I still think on the safety list you have Malcolm Jenkins up here, and then Von Bell is maybe I would say about like 4 or 5 guys behind him. Just to have that skill set in Jenkins and that reliability in him makes that defense. The only weak spot is that linebacker core, and I think with Vaughn and Anzalone being healthy, that's going to be a big factor on how the Saints succeed. Is that linebacker core, and if it could stay healthy. But if it does, that defense is just way too powerful for Matt Ryan to even remotely close find a way to stop it or find a way to get through it. So
Yep.
now we're moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's going to be a very tough one. I think Carson Wentz is going to pop off this game. This is going to be a game it's going to be Wentz versus Breeze. And Wentz is going to look like the Carson Wentz we thought he was going to be. And even with Rager, I'm not sold on Rager, but with Carson Wentz being one of the only quarterbacks to throw for 4,000 with a 500 receiver and below, like nobody above 500, then
yeah, he's the only quarterback to ever do that.
Oh, the only quarterback. Mm. All right. Yeah, I see him doing very well against us, and I think it's going to be a passing battle because our secondary is not that great. I'm not too knowledgeable about their secondary, but I don't think it's that great either. I know they have Tre'Davious White, or not Tre'Davious White. The other LSU corner, I forgot what his name was.
Jalen. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they got him, but I don't see their secondary matching up to our wide receivers, especially Daniel Sanders now. And with outside of Emmanuel Sanders, we do have Trey Quinn and then like the undrafted rookies, but Breeze loves his undrafted rookies for some reason. I mean, we saw Keith Kirkwood pop off. There was another one that I think's still on the team now. I can't remember his name.
Who's the midget?
Yeah, I think he was a midget.
Tommy Lee, wasn't that his name?
Oh no, it was Deontay Harris, something like
Oh,
that.
there used to be. I swear this dude's name was like Tommy Lee something.
Tommy Lee Lewis.
I think
Yeah,
that was
there you
2
go.
years ago, wasn't it?
Because that's the guy off Motley Crue, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little munchkin dude.
But no, I think Breeze loves him. So he doesn't care who he throws to. He just loves getting touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be Wentz versus Breeze, and Breeze is going to come out on top.
I think that defense will have to play a significant role in whether or not the Eagles win or not. I don't see this game being less than a shootout. I mean, I think the Eagles have plenty of offensive weapons, and I think that the Saints have enough weapons to match them. I think it boils down to whether or not the Eagles are going to be able to win at home. I mean, if you remember last year, the Eagles lost to the 3rd overall team Lions at home, like week 3 of the season. And I get this is later on, this is the back quarter of the season, but you don't know whether or not Alshon Jeffrey or Deshaun Jackson is going to be able to stay healthy, especially Jeffrey, and whether or not Jalen Reagor is going to be able to make that jump to the pro level yet. I just think it boils down to if that Eagles defense is going to be able to stop the Saints offense. Going on a leg here, I think Drew Brees, like you said, takes it here, and I think the Saints win.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's a tough one. If I had to predict, I mean, it's at Philadelphia, and it's late in the season, and we know the problems the Eagles had last year with the wide receiver core, where they were down to like their 7th and 8th and ninth string receivers. Seemingly, it seemed like that, and now I think the big matchup is I'm inclined to pick the Saints, but the key matchup would be how can they do against Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. That's the strength of the Philadelphia Eagles right there is their tight ends. Can they stop them? Because who knows with the receivers might be in flux this late in the season. Can the Saints defense stop them? Because I feel like the Saints offense will go off, and like you said, Adam, it could be a shootout. But I just can't see the Eagles if they're stopped one time, 1 or 2 times by that Saints defense. I can't see them stopping the Saints offense really, and unless they because you can try to contain Michael Thomas. There you go. You can try to contain Michael Thomas with Darius Slay, but can you guard Emmanuel Sanders? Can you get Jared Cook? Can you get Alvin Kamara? Can Latavius Murray run it up the middle and just shove it down, go down their throats while because the Eagles' D line is more pass rush oriented. That's what they're built for. That's why they won the Super Bowl a few years back. Was that pass rush D line? So can Latavius Murray run the ball, and can the Saints defense will they be able to stop the offense efficiently? And if so, I think the Saints. If it's a shootout, Saints win. If it's not, I still think the Saints win. It'll be close either way, but I just picked Breeze over Wentz as well, like Jackson said. Breeze, even on the road, Breeze is going to get them like he did in the playoffs a few years back. Back in it was like 2013, 2014, something like that. He's going to get them.
And I mean, another point to think about is who did the Eagles play the week before? They went to Green Bay and played the Packers in Lambeau the week before they played the Saints. So to be able to stop Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees back-to-back weeks is going to be a tough task for that defense because I think Brees and Rodgers play completely 2 different games. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more mobile and able to throw off his his back, not his back foot, but throw on the run a little bit better than Brees is. But at the same time, the offense is completely different. The Saints can be a little bit more run oriented, or they can be a little bit more pass oriented. The Packers are clearly a more run first team. So who knows? The Packers may run it a little bit more, and the Eagles may face a little bit more injuries later on in the season due to the fact that the Packers are running it more. So that may benefit the Saints later on in the next game, since that they have to play, the Eagles have to play the Packers and the Saints back to back. But to me, I don't think the Eagles can compare to the Saints, even though it is at Philadelphia and that wonderful fan base that Philadelphia has. The Eagles are known for choking games at home. They really are, especially in the playoffs. So I just think Saints win it here. I just do.
All right. We got these 2 losses, so that's
11-2.
11-2. So this next game, it's at New Orleans, but it's against the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. I think we're going to be in a top race, or number 1 race, basically, between us and the 49ers. It's going to be us neck and neck. Of course, I think the 49ers are going to have the edge on us because of that 1 win against us. But right here, the Kansas City Chiefs they're overloaded. The first round pick is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I love the running back. He's an all around back. He's short. He can catch. There was comparisons to him for Barry Sanders, the way that he can just move on instinct. Of course, not the speed. He lacks in speed, but he's just a powerful back. He's an elusive back. He can catch you off guard with a truck and then turn around and spin you. But even then, I don't see him being that running back. He's not going to have the starting role because you have Darrell Williams, you have Damian Williams. Both of them 2 are going to switch in and out, but it's going to be a 3-headed monster with Williams, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But with this one, I think Mahomes is going to pull it out because the offense is way too powerful. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Mecole Hardman, 2 insanely fast wide receivers, and
Sammy Watkins.
Oh yeah, Sammy Watkins. Like you have Sammy Watkins, which is completely different from the other 2. Like, isn't Watkins a little bit older and
he still has a little speed to him, but he's still a veteran receiver.
He can still get it done. Yeah, like
don't forget Kelsey.
Yeah, the freak.
We have Travis Kelce to worry about. I think Malcolm Jenkins will do a pretty good job. I don't know how well the Philadelphia Eagles did against the Chiefs last year, so I can't really say what Malcolm Jenkins can do against Kelce. But with solely based on Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman having that insane amounts of speed against our already weak secondary, I think that's going to be the reason why we lose. Because Patrick Mahomes is just going to lob it downfield 50 yards and right under Hill and take it for a touchdown. So, yeah, I say St. Clair.
I think, I don't know what happened to undefeated at home there, Jackson, but it's hard. It's hard against arguably, Mahomes might be the greatest quarterback of his era, and it may not even be close. But, to me, with Andy Reid's play calling and the combination of Hill, Watkins, Mecole Hardman, and then you got Travis Kelce to worry about. I just think it'll overload that Saints defense, even if the Saints get pressure. Andy Reid, his play calling, I mean, literally it is Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton as the top 3. Not in that order, but those 3 guys come up with the most creative plays I've ever seen. If you look at, Wasp at the Super Bowl, that one big catch that Tyreek Hill had against the 49ers. That play call, nobody would ever think of coming up with a play like that. But since Mahomes has that throw power and Tyreek Hill has that speed, you can come up with almost anything if you really wanted to. And like you said, I do think it'll affect that defensive coverage. One thing about Andy Reid's, offense, Mahomes is not throwing to receivers; he's throwing to zones. He's throwing zones of field where the receivers are going to end up. And that pick where Fred Warner picked it off in the Super Bowl was the fact that Mahomes knew that Fred Warner knew that he was going to throw it to that zone, but he threw it anyway. I think as Mahomes gets through 13 games of the season, as he gets more, if he gets better at reading coverages, I think it just depends. And it also depends on if the Saints defense, the Saints if the Chiefs defense is going to be able to stop that Saints offense, because Kendall Fuller, their number one corner, went to the Redskins. They no longer have Kendall Fuller. So who's going to be that corner to guard Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders? Tyrann Mathieu can't do it all by himself. So to me, I think this is a shootout. I think this might be the game of the season, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if this is 49-45. But at the same time, I do think Patrick Mahomes will come into New Orleans and will beat the Saints.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I really don't think the
oh wait, whoops.
But I mean, it's in New Orleans, and that obviously gives them a little bit of advantage. Mahomes, one of the best QBs in the league. He's got the perfect system, perfect cast around. You could not script a better story for Pat Mahomes. But I mean, it's kind of like Brady and Belichick. It's the perfect combination right there, and that's pretty much what Mahomes has at his in his toolbox at his disposal. Um, the Saints, their big key is, hey, can you stop Patrick Mahomes? And with my Titans last year in the AFC Championship game, we did take a 10-0 lead. And when you take that lead, you got to be able to control the clock and keep scoring, keep scoring. Field goals won't do it for you. I mean, that's what I found out as a Titans fan, obviously. And we stopped running Henry, but that's a whole different story. If you can stop the Chiefs, they can be stopped. You just got to be able to get consistent pressure on Mahomes and force him to make some like errant throws in a way and make him force him to run the ball. It's a tough game for me to pick, and I'm honestly gonna pick the Saints to win 5 games in a row, and I think they're gonna beat the Chiefs at home in probably a shootout. Most likely gonna be a shootout, and I just think and the main reason why is just because the Chiefs defense ain't as good as their offense. Their offense keeps them in these games. Their defense isn't that great. It's below average, but they do have Chris Jones. They have Frank Clark, I believe, and then Tyrann Mathieu. And like you said, Kendall Fuller went to the Redskins. So their secondary is going to be a little bit depleted outside of Matthew, obviously. And I can see Drew Brees carving them up. I can see Alvin Kamara, carving them up as well. Michael Thomas, who's going to guard Michael Thomas? I mean, Tyrann Mathieu can't guard him. He might have to guard freaking Jared Cook or something like that, or Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. So I can see it being a shootout, but due to the Saints' home field advantage, I'm going to roll with the Saints here. Late in the season, they're fighting for that 1 or 2 seed. I feel like they'll pull it out right here.
And I think it plays into the fact of, Tyreek Hill has, whether you show it or not, he has had some injury issues. He has been injured a couple of times in his career. And it's whether or not, this is the 13th game of the season, if whether or not, who knows? Pat Mahomes might get injured this year. You never know with the game of football. And, like you said, I believe that, it will be a shootout. I think it will be. The Saints mentality is, if they do get a 10-0 lead or a 17-0 lead, even a 24-0 lead, they got to put that pedal to the metal still. They can't let up, because Pat Mahomes proved last year 3 games in a row in the playoffs, including the Super Bowl, they were down and they came back. I think that's I think that may be the biggest thing, because if the Saints force a turnover of any kind, whether or not that's a fumble, a pick, whatever, if they're able to get ahead of the Chiefs, they cannot stop, because that offense is designed to keep going no matter what. So to me, especially with the Saints, I think any of these games are winnable. I think any of these games are winnable. It just depends on whether or not they're able to win the turnover battle.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one. I think every game is winnable. Kind of funny that the Saints fan is the only one that says they're going to lose this week.
I said they were going to lose.
Oh, you said you were going to lose? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, based off what I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't actually look at the away and home, so I didn't realize that the Chiefs were in New Orleans. So that kind of caught me off guard big time. But yeah, it's like Kansas City does have reputation for having a really crappy defense. Like it's just the nature of the Chiefs. Like they have a overpowered offense, but a probably average to below average defense. I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to make our secondary look stupid. That's why I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think Mahomes is going to come out on top solely because he has that X factor and just what did Tyreek Hill run at the 40, like a 4.3?
Not something? Even 4.2.
4.2, yeah, there you go.
4.27 to be exact.
God, like anybody that can run that fast is a huge factor, and the way that he can catch, the way that he can move, that just Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, it's too much. And I think it's going to be like a last minute ditch off his back foot over to Tyreek Hill. And
Travis Kelce probably.
Everybody. Yeah. But I still think the Chiefs are going to win. But yeah, so we have majority rules. So we have a Saints loss. So that's 11-3, I think.
Yep.
So now we have the Vikings at the Superdome. This one, no question. They put us out of the playoffs. They Minnesota miracled us. We have so much blood in the water, and it's going to be a frenzy. I don't think I will go to say to where Dalvin Cook shuts down to where he has less than 100 yards. I think Thielen's still going to get 100 yards receiving, but I say no touchdown. Only field goals by the Vikings, and it's going to be a dominating Saints win.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing to question here is, if you look at the Saints schedule, it's a short week. It's a 5-day week for the Saints because they play the 20th of December and then they go and play on Christmas. Sure, they don't have to move anywhere. And I'm trying to look up the Vikings schedule to see if they're in a way. Okay. They have to move from Minnesota to New Orleans and then play on a 5-day week as well, which I think personally will have an effect on Minnesota more than it will the Saints, since the Saints don't have to go anywhere. And I think I agree with you. The Minnesota Miracle, being put out of the playoffs, I think Drew Brees is like, okay, guys, we got to win this one. We have to. How can you can't lose on Christmas to the team that put you out of the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's going to be like, a 35-9 win. But the biggest question for me is Marshawn Lattimore is going to be on Adam Thielen the entire time. So, Justin Jefferson and those other receivers are going to have to make a play. I think it depends on if Kirk Cousins is going to be able to mesh well with that. I think the Superdome better be loud. It better be loud and proud, and it's going to be like, we're on Christmas Day, and we're getting drunk in New Orleans.
Last home game and everything.
Exactly. And I think the Saints pull it out here. Not because I'm a Packers fan. I just think, how can you not win this game? How can you not win this game?
Yep.
So, but I mean, you could say that for the playoffs though as well, since the Saints, it was their last home game, of the playoffs, and they still lost to the Vikings. I just think, how can you not win this game? So I think, with that, I think the Saints, I don't think they'll be able to shut down Dalvin Cook, but I think they'll have to force Kirk Cousins to make a play. And I wouldn't be surprised if, what is his name, Deontay Harris?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does that little double move again. And destroys. And then if you look at the Minnesota Vikings secondary, who's going to cover you're going to have young guys, Trey Wayne's going to cover Michael Thomas? No.
Mm-mm.
No.
The rookie, Jeff Gladney's going to cover Michael Thomas? No. The former number one pick, the former first round pick, Mike Haynes out of UCF, going to cover Michael Thomas? No. Harrison Smith's not going to cover him. That's for damn sure. So I think personally, I mean, I don't think either three of those guys are going to be able to cover Michael Thomas. Well, cover Emmanuel Sanders, let alone Michael Thomas. And then you have to put in the factor of, Anthony Barr could cover Jared Cook, I guess. And then the Eric Kendricks could cover Alvin Kamara, I guess, maybe. But I think that the corners are going to have to do something spectacular to stop Drew Brees in that offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints take it here at home, last home game of the season on Christmas. You might as well be popping champagne there to get that first seed. Saints win, go 13 and 2 right here. Well, we'll be at 12-3. 12-3.
Yeah, I think the Saints got this one too. It's their revenge factor. Two, the Vikings aren't as good as they were last year. They've had key losses, and too many key losses in my liking, to have the fortitude to be able to make the playoffs first off, and to beat the Saints. The Saints are at home. Revenge factor. It's simply put, it's just revenge factor, and the Saints are the better team, and they're gonna win. They're gonna win this one, and I don't know if it'll be close or not. But even if it is, they're going to pull it out because the last 2 years have been utter madness and utter despair and possible just BS essentially is what was happening.
You could say the last 3 years are like that.
Or 3 years, yeah, that's what I meant, not last two. But either way, they get the revenge factor and it's at home. Do you really think Kirk Cousins is going to go in there and beat him without Stephon Diggs? And like you said, what's his name? Marshawn Lattimore is going to be on Adam Thielen the whole time. Can Justin Jefferson win that? This late in the season, is he going to be seasoned enough to be able to draw coverage away from Adam Thielen possibly because he's doing so good? No, in my opinion, he's not like A.J. Brown. I don't think he'll be able to do that. We'll see, though. He's a good receiver, but he's not like A.J. Brown. He won't pop off immediately, I don't think. But simply put, Drew Brees, I don't know if he'll have a field day, but they'll be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and you look at Jordan Jefferson at LSU. Jordan Jefferson wasn't the top threat. Jamar Chase was.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Justin Jefferson went off is because everybody was so focused on Chase. Because Chase was getting like 4 touchdowns a game,
mm-hmm.
And then you have Justin Jefferson, a big body receiver that can get those important catches, get thrown to by one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the college football for at least this year. Just outstanding numbers from Burrow. But yeah, I think it's going to be a matter of if Justin Jefferson is going to show out, if he can step into that role, show that, hey, it wasn't just Chase at LSU, it was me too. So yeah, it's still going to be Saints win. I honestly, I even think if Justin Jefferson shows out and gets over 100 yards and maybe 2 touchdowns, it's still going to be Saints win.
Right. I mean, another thing to look at it is Justin Jefferson played slot majority that year. That great year that LSU won that national championship. Adam Thielen was majority slot whenever he played for the Vikings with the Stephon Diggs. So, that offensive coordinator is going to have to pick whether or not, oh, hey, am I going to put Justin Jefferson at slot because he played well at slot in college, or am I going to put Adam Thielen at slot because he's played majority slot in his NFL career? I think that's probably one of the biggest questions of that Minnesota Vikings offense, because do you put the rookie out wide at the outside receiver spot, even though he's shown that he's better in the slot, or do you put the seasoned veteran out wide, even though he's shown he's better at the slot position? to me, as a coach, I would put the veteran out there, but at the same time, you never know with these NFL guys. You never really know. But yeah, I mean, Saints win, go to 12-3 on the season.
All right, so moving on to the final game of the season, we got at Charlotte against the Carolina Panthers. I think this is the last game of the season. I think we solidified the. Well, honestly, I
Well,
really don't know.
according to our predictions previously, the Packers are 12-3, and the Saints are 12-3 at this spot. So
Yeah.
there's a battle for the number 2.
Same with the 49ers. I guarantee you, if we did a 49ers prediction, they would be right alongside Packers and the Saints. So judging by that, I don't see us sitting the starters, and I don't see us taking this game lightly. Mainly because it can be that trap game, like, we need to rest the starters for the postseason. We don't need to be playing as hard this game because we need to play even harder in the next game, the playoffs. But I don't think Matt Rule's going to succeed this year. I think he's going to go mid-road, probably about an 8-8.
I'd say 6-10.
You say 6-10?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see that, but I don't see Rule doing anything against the Saints, especially being the Saints this overpowered, with him just coming off the what team was he on last time?
Baylor.
Last year.
He was at the Baylor Bears.
Oh, Baylor. So yeah, he's freshly stepping into the NFL scene.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before.
Yeah. So yeah, judging based off of that, I don't see him doing good this year, and judging by him not doing good, they're not going to win Week 17. So yeah, Saints win. I don't think it's going to be as dominant as the home game against the Carolina Panthers. They're going to put up a fight. It's going to be a battle, but by third quarter, it's going to be decided. Saints win.
So my thing, I didn't even think about this when we did the live stream previously. The format is changed. There's only one bye week now.
Oh, shoot.
Only one team gets the bye week. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too.
So let's say the 49ers go 13-3 and they're 13 and let's say they're 13-2 going into this spot. They've already beat the Saints. So the tiebreaker is already there. They've already beat the Packers. So that tiebreaker's there. So I think the Saints are like, okay, well, win the number 1 seed, so we can't win that bye. So I think they sit, and I think they let Taysom Hill play quarterback a bit, or maybe Jameis Winston. So I think either way, I just think that let me make sure this is right. Let me make sure that this is going to be in 2020, which I believe, yes, it'll be in 2020. So my thing is, I think they let them sit, and I think it's a toss-up. I think either the Panthers or the Saints could win. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Saints lose. Just, they don't want to get anybody injured. I don't think they want Drew Brees hurt. I don't think they want Michael Thomas hurt. Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan. Hell, they may even, put in the backup offensive line. Who knows? But I think the Saints lose and go to 12-4 on the season.
Well, at this point of the season, I have the Saints at 13-2. So I have them like higher ranked than usual. So if what we're predicting is right with the Packers would be around 12 and what would they be? 12-3. So but we had the Saints beating them. So the Saints would have a leg up on them even if they lost. So in my opinion, I feel like the Saints would rest their starters or wouldn't try as hard. And then the Panthers, they might be fighting for a playoff spot. Who knows? Possibly. In the NFC, probably not. But if they are, it's at home. Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey. I feel like they'll do something, and I feel like the Saints will probably lose if they rest their starters. Then yes, I think so. Jameis Winston will probably show him his regular self, throw some interceptions or something. He'll throw some magic to make the game a little antsy for the Panthers and their fans, but he'll throw like a pick or something at the end, and the Panthers might make the playoffs. They might not. But I think the Saints give this one away, kind of, just because by resting their starters, and I think they go 13-3 and either get the top seed, or just depending on how the 49ers do, if they don't choke a few games away, or they'll get the second seed and play the seventh seed. I'm guessing something like that.
Yep. And they play the 17th. So, I mean, my thing is, on top of that, I think it's the same matchup because if the 49ers are the 1 seed, the Saints already lost to them according to our predictions. So, there's no chance of them getting that number 1 seed. So I don't see why they would play for this game with their actual starters. So I think the Saints do rest their starters, and I mean, who knows? They may win, actually. Jameis Winston might pull a rabbit out of the hat, may throw an interception, but he may throw 4 or 5 touchdowns along with it. You never know. So I think, overall Saints lose, but I still think 12-4 is a great record anyway.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. And I think if that comes down to it, and it is true, we start Winston on that Week 17 matchup against the Panthers. I still think we're gonna win no matter what because we picked up Bridgewater, a washed-up quarterback that no one thought was going to play the down of football again, and then we turned around and then all of a sudden shipped him out for a starting gig again.
Yeah.
I think that team is going to mold around Winston. They're going to have 16 weeks, or including the preseason, they're going to have 20 weeks. Actually, including the. No, yeah, still.
It would be 20 weeks leading up to this game.
Yeah, 20 weeks with the team, and I think sitting behind Breeze, watching him, maybe even getting in for a game or two. Like if we're playing a weaker team and we just completely shut him out, then I still think he's going to do really good, and I still think that they're going to look at him for that Week 17 matchup, and basically win out and win him a job.
And I mean, on top of that, you have Sean Payton's offense as well. I mean, I would assume it's probably a little bit quarterback friendly more than Bruce Arians' offense was. If you look at Teddy Bridgewater, he did come in for that 1 year, like you said, and he was able to lead the Saints to 5 wins, as a starter. So for him to be able to make that translation, I don't see why Jameis Winston wouldn't be able to do that same thing for that one game after he's learned for 20 straight weeks. I mean, if not more, if you want to count this quarantine as well, being able to study that playbook and put those plays into motion. So, this is one of those games where he could definitely toss it up, either way. And, I think maybe somebody could show out and win it for him. So I still have them losing, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, same here.
So Packers and Saints, 12-4. I mean, what can you do?
I think I had 12-4 and 13-3.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the next one we can do a Titans one. Maybe I'll have a few changes, but I don't know. We'll figure that one out soon. But yeah, this was our Saints prediction. You had Adam and Jackson with their Saints stuff on. I don't have any of that Saints stuff, sadly. I'm a Titans fan, so I have Titans stuff and I have some Packers stuff, and that's about it. Packers are my second favorite team, so I have that. That's about it.
I'll send you some Saints stuff.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I used to have my buddy. He used to have it was Tyler. He used to have a Reggie Bush jersey, and he lost it at the movie theater when we were little. Yeah.
Oh.
I know. He was like, I left it in there. Oh my goodness. And it's like, we couldn't do anything about it, dude. They took it away. Or some
Yeah.
kid stole it or something like that. But I don't know. That was interesting. That's the closest thing I've had to picking up a Saints jersey, possibly, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't mind the Saints. As a Titans fan, I don't mind the Saints. I like Drew Brees. But yeah, that's
This has been fun.
but yeah, that's gonna do the live stream for everyone who watched. Thank y'all for watching, and thank Adam and Jackson for hopping on. This has been the Gridiron Gang podcast, first official live stream. We'll add some new stuff later. We're just testing stuff out, testing the waters real quick. But yeah, Gridiron Gang podcast and AFO, we are out. Oh shoot. Oh, I haven't done this before. There we go.